So let's check in on the animators before I talk about this episode of JJK. So this animator, posted this saying that they were having, health concerns and issues, and people were linking me to this post saying, oh no, what's going on here? And come to find out, they responded with, no, it's not Mappa's fault. They were just, they had bad health to begin with, and that's kind of what happened. But they do confirm that, the schedule and stuff was scary. But apparently, this animator being hospitalized and all that isn't actually thanks to Mappa. So there's some quick clarification because people were linking me to this post. But I'm wishing them a speedy recovery. I don't know exactly what's fully going on, but my heart goes out to them, and I do hope that, everything does get better for them very, very soon, because, they have put blood, sweat, and tears into their work, and I want to see them, make a 100% recovery. So with that being said, let's get into this episode of JJK. So, this scene is... I think it really just speaks for itself. Like, this is legitimately just such a emotional scene. Seeing Nanami say, you take it from here, Yuji, is so sad. Because Nanami as a character, I think anyone at this point that has, been watching the series probably has grown very fond of Nanami. In a way, you could look at Nanami as, the Jiraiya-like character for Jujutsu Kaisen, aka Jiraiya from Naruto. Obviously, the series is a lot shorter than Naruto, but the point still stands, is that Nanami, in his own way, he was kind of like this mentor figure to Yuji for a while, helped him out quite a bit, watched over him, and seeing his character's conclusion like this is just truly... It's emotional. It's sad, because this man put his life into his work, and he died working. It's just... It is such a sad conclusion for him, and I think that what really wraps this all up, besides obviously Yuji's, expression and how he reacts to the death, I think what's really crazy is that Nanami, throughout this entire moment, when you see Yuji in the background, Nanami is fighting with himself mentally, his emotions. He's basically wondering if he should even, scream, if he should yell, should he cry, should he be mad. All these emotions are circling through his mind right now, and it's sad because Nanami, obviously, his genuine emotion, what he feels upon his death. It's very clear that he wanted to scream. He wanted to be angry. He wanted to yell. But he pushed it down. He stopped it. He even debated if he wanted to speak. It's very clear by his demeanor and what he's seeing being very delirious and just seeing things. He was even debating if he should even respond to Yuji. If he should even turn around and look at him. Should he even do that? Should he give Yuji that look? Because that would be the last thing that Yuji ever sees of him. He would see his teacher just dying right in front of him. It's like, what could he do to somehow pass on his will without cursing Yuji, but also trying to remain as a mentor figure? It's a legitimately interesting scene. There is multiple layers to Nanami's conclusion here that you can kind of get from it that makes it just truly sad. I'll be honest with you, I cried, watching this episode today. It was legitimately sad, because it's I like Nanami. I read it in the manga, and I got really emotional when I first saw this, and then seeing it in the anime again is just... it's heartbreaking. And I think, Yuji's expression here, and when everything comes said and done, it's all over, and Yuji's literally look of just, shock here and terror, is perfect. It perfectly represents what he's feeling in that moment. It's like someone that has literally been a kind of, in some shape or form, a father figure as well to Yuji, just dies like that. It's like, you take it from here. He said the words that Yuji needed to hear. He might not understand those words right now, because obviously he's just overwhelmed by sheer rage and anger. This very moment here when he charges Mahito, it's pure anger. It's pure rage. And it makes a lot of sense why he would be just that angry. But I think when time passes and Yuji's able to sit and think about it and Nanami's death, he will respect him for what he was, because he decided to be... in a way, he was true to how he's always been, even if he pushed down his other emotions, but he wanted to make sure Yuji could be happy. Even if it isn't a pleasant way to go, Yuji can look back on it and say that Nanami, probably would have had it any other way, at least with his final words. So, like I said, it's emotional. There's a lot to take away from it, and I think that anyone that watches this episode probably feels the exact same way. It's heartbreaking to see a character that legitimately has been with us since season 1, and seeing basically his conclusion here of him just, taking down, cursed spirits and stuff while being literally delusional and seeing things thanks to the burns on his body. It's sad. Like, can we talk about that as well? Like, the whole first half of this episode really is just seeing Nanami having just, like, it's just seeing stuff. Like, he believes he's on the beach and all that, he's relaxing, but it's a complete contrast to what he's actually doing. AKA, he's in a life or death struggle right now. He's fighting cursed spirits while, he has a vacation here. It perfectly embodies Nanami's character, I think. Exactly what he stood for, who he was as a person, and kind of how he died as a person. It really just, the episode is a good farewell to his character, and I obviously understand people wishes that his character could be around a lot longer, but I think when you think about what his motivations were, what he was, this truly is a sad but fitting end for his character. But with all that out of the way, can we take a few moments to talk about this beginning sequence with Yuji and just thinking about lines everyone said to him, to cursed spirits, to people that he loves and cares about, family, his grandpa. He just thinks about everything. And I think that this very beginning is a very sad note, too, that really just kind of amplifies the emotions of what this episode presented. Because obviously Yuji, he's dealing with the weight of just so much life that was lost in the previous episode. With Sukuna wiping out pretty much the city of, Shibuya, there's pretty much so many people are dead, thousands are dead, and Yuji is technically responsible because Sukuna is alive in him. Sukuna took over his body, and Yuji couldn't stop Sukuna, and he feels responsible, and he has to weigh that on his shoulders. He feels like he is a murderer. He killed innocent people. And when you think about what this episode tries to present, Yuji obviously, he's always not wanted to kill or hurt people. I mean, you even see while he's fighting Mahito that he doesn't even want to hurt the transfigured humans that Mahito is throwing at him. It proves that point that some deep down, Yuji is trying to hold on to that motivation, the morals he has. But at this time, his hands are already stained and bloody. Can he really be the same person that he was a few episodes back? Is it already too late? All these things are just swelling in his head, and it's a legitimately interesting episode. It shows just how much he's really suffering, and continuously suffering. And so when you get to this final sequence at the end of the episode, where you see Nobara, she's encountering Mahito, let's be honest, anyone that watched this after seeing what happened to Nanami is going to be just an outright state of horror. They're going to be like, oh no, is she next? Like, that's exactly what people are thinking right now, because it's like, yeah, Nobara is strong. We've seen her do some incredible things, but what if Mahito puts one hand on her? She's dead. Like, it's a GG. It's over. She cannot take one hit from him. If she gets one hand from him put on her, she's dead, and that's deadly. Like, all it takes is one mistake. And so, can she survive? And obviously, Mahito's entire motivation here is to drag Nobara to Yuji, to make him crumble even more mentally, to really wound him. That is what's happening mentally here. They're wanting to tear him down even more. So, there is a lot of concern and a lot of worry about her right now, especially encountering a character that obviously already took such a beloved character from us. So, yeah, it's just, what's gonna happen? That's a good question. But with that being said, we need to talk about the art and animation. So, obviously, at this point in time, this is where we're starting to see maybe some suffering to just the overall production here. Now, I'm not saying that this episode is terrible by any means. I want to make sure I start off with saying that it's a very good-looking episode. But anyone that really looks at this episode and thinks about it, they can definitely see there is a lot of shortcuts and ways to make it as limited animation as possible where they could. For instance, this entire opening sequence and all that, like, let's just take a hard look at this, okay? The way this opening sequence is just basically like a still frame kind of being moved here with just dialogue on it, and this is not bad, so to say, but obviously JJK has had a lot of high-octane movement in almost every single episode, and it's clear that there is a lot of areas throughout this episode that tries to make cuts when it can, with still frames to maybe just scrolling background images and all that, and like I said, the episode's gorgeous. It's still a good-looking episode, but you can see that there is more constraints here to where they're not giving every single segment of this episode as much polish as they should, or what they were doing in the past. So it's like, it's pretty sad, honestly. I mean, I feel like what's really going on here, what we're witnessing is the animators are going to keep trugging along. They're going to produce JJK Season 2 to its conclusion. But these final episodes are not going to be as what they could have been. They're going to be inferior in comparison. And I'm not putting down their work. I think that, they are doing a great job even still with this episode. Shoutouts to the staff. But it's very clear that this episode in general could have been more, like with the vision and all that. And I don't want to beat a dead horse and say the exact same things I've been saying for weeks, but it's wild to think that, like we could have had, like last week's episode, the previous episode's level of quality for every episode if the studio actually would have given these animators more time, because even with the very limited time frame, just looking how this episode looked in general, it is still very impressive. It really is. But I'll leave it at that, though. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. Do leave a like on the video as well. Be safe. Chibi out.